First, fighting tonight out of the red corner, he's wearing blue with white and weighed in at 9 stone, 12 pounds. Coming to us from Stockport, Cheshire, he has 114 professional bouts to his credit. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jamie Devil Child Quinn. His opponent across the ring, fighting tonight out of the blue corner. He's wearing white with red and weighed in at 9 stone, 13 pounds. Hailing from Oxford, Oxfordshire, he had a stellar amateur career, and now as a professional, he is undefeated with 1 victory. Ladies and gentlemen, here is Jordan Flynn.
We'll go to the furthest future corner and stay there. Touch glove, go back to corner.
Seconds out.
Jordan Flynn in the white shorts in just his 2nd professional fight. Comes from Oxford. Tonight up against one of the real journeymen of the sport, Jamie Quinn from Stockport, in his 115th fight. Jordan, who had a decent amateur record, now looking to make the transition and in against somebody who's a noted survivor. The only people who've stopped him in those 114 fights, good names in Sam Maxwell and Kane Gardner and Anthony Kakachi. And he's been busy as well, Richie. 26 fights, believe it or not, last year.
Yeah, it's incredible. Jamie Quinn, a journeyman, but a tough journeyman. Only 3 people, like you said, John, that stopped him. And he gives a good account of himself, and he gives any young up-and-coming fighter a good test. He really does. And this is something that Jordan Flynn, you know, he will need at this stage of his career. Because at the end of the day, you're not going to knock everyone out, and pro boxing isn't about just knocking people out, it's about going the distance, and you learn things from these type of journeyman fighters. So I think this will be a good test for young Jordan Flynn.
Jordan's slightly the taller man, listed as being 5'8.5". Fights a little bit taller than Jamie Quinn, who stands at 5'8". As an amateur, Flynn picked up a couple of schoolboy titles, got to the elite semi-finals. But Richie, I'm sure, would be the first to remind people that the difference between, oh, that's a decent right hand from Quinn, the difference between amateurs and professionals is considerable, and every fighter who switches over says that one thing that they find out against people like Quinn is just how strong they are physically.
How strong and tough they are, most certainly. I mean, young Flynn here, he's got to use his jab a little bit more here, John, like that. He just got caught with a lovely right hand from Jamie Quinn. It was a cracking shot. And that was mainly because Jordan Flynn, he just took his eye off the ball a little, got a little bit too close without using his jab and measuring the gap and distance, and just gets caught with the right hand. So a good, you know, an early reminder that he's got to stick to his boxing, and those boxing skills he's got to obviously transfer from the amateur game now to the professional game. But you don't forget about the basics, the jabs, the straight right hands, the boxing at distance. That's what he's got to do a little bit here, I think.
And although Jamie Quinn generally winds up short, and he has gloves and will travel, he's a journeyman, every sense of the word, you don't have the number of fights that he's had without having a modicum of ability and a knowledge of how to survive. And you'll notice he's got a really tough, tight, high guard, and it's not too often that it's breached. And there, in the closing seconds of the round, Flynn trying to land that chopping right hand over the top, and unsurprisingly, Quinn was there to block it.
Just take your time. Don't rush on it. So now you're looking down. When you look down, you just whip it there, put it sharp. Yeah. So if you're looking down, it's close enough. Just whip it there. Don't pose there. You're there, whip it there. Yeah. Also, don't do that double jump with your left hand there, because you'll want the shot. Don't mean you leave your arm like that. Your head stay straight there. Yeah. So if you're there, snap it, slip across him. Keep making angles with him. Don't stand in front of him. Just take your time.
And here's some of the action from the opening round.
Well, there he just got caught with that right hand, so we just shown that. He just walked in forward a little bit too quick. Got a little bit too close, should I say. Just gets caught with the sharp right hand. I thought he won the round though, Flynn. I thought he boxed well towards the end of the round. But just a little reminder that Jamie Quinn is no mug.
And being reminded in his corner to work, as Richie was telling you, behind that left hand. Moving into the second round. Fight scheduled to go 6. And for Jamie Flynn, the first time that he has appeared in a 6-round contest.
Jordan Flynn certainly listening to his coach, Kevin Mitchell, in that corner. Just using that jab, boxing a little bit better at the start of this round, and that makes it a little bit more difficult for Jamie Quinn, you see. When Flynn's working well with his jab, keeping his distance, then Quinn's got to think about getting on the inside and getting inside that long jab of his opponent.
Nice to see Mitchell working as a corner man, as a trainer. Had a terrific professional career, Kevin Mitchell. Frank Greaves in assistance in that corner, so plenty of knowledge between them.
Yeah, plenty of knowledge there. Two dedicated boxing people. And Kevin Mitchell was a great fighter, he really was. Real East End boy.
Just to say, I suddenly got a great blast of effects coming through in my cans. I don't know if it's something you've changed at your end.
Better boxing again from Flynn, just keeping his distance. They're single shots, but he's boxing at range now. And like I say, Quinn, he's not so effective now as Jamie Quinn. He'd much rather Jordan Flynn to come at him to try and box on the inside, and that would give Jamie Quinn a lot of chances to land some shots on the inside. But as he's boxing at distance, then it's more difficult for Quinn.
Flynn varying his attack a bit more, working to the body, and there was a nice right hand in there which gets a little nod of acknowledgement from Jamie Quinn.
I think one might have been a little bit south as well, John. And
yeah, I think it might have been a bit more of a nod of acknowledgement. It might have been a bit more to say, let's keep them up.
Yeah.
Bob Williams, the referee. More body shots from Flynn, closing the action for the second round.
I think you need a hand out there. You can see the edge. There's your tip, yeah? Nice, take your time. Please, man, don't get hit with nothing. Take your time. Oh, see when you snap and grab and snap. Just snap. Left dick, bang, whoa. So just drop the shoulder back. Instead of rushing left dick and getting a power, drop the shoulder back and put left dick in, yeah? Yeah. Keep thinking defense. Jab, left dick. Yeah, jab, but when you both left dick, drop the shoulder press on left dick. Use your thumbs, double up your attacks. Yeah. Making angles. Take your time, right, as well. Got to take it down. Yeah, don't rush it, yeah. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Seemingly reasonably satisfied with the way things are going, Richie?
Yeah, I think he is. Kevin Mitchell, he's quite pleased with his lad there.
Second out, round 3.
Third round of 6, Jordan Flynn clearly taking the second round, adding to the first, which Richie had given him. Hear the instructions from the Flynn corner, telling him not to just stand in front of him. Let's move laterally and create some angles.
He's boxing well now, Flynn, with that jab and straight right hand look, but then he switches the attack downstairs, so it's long range work to start off with, and then he just switches with those bent arm shots downstairs, the hooks to the body.
Kevin Mitchell was pretty handy at those.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But it is a hard guard to pierce, Jamie Quinn's guard. He's got it nice and tight. And that's why Flynn just switches the attack downstairs, doesn't he, with those body shots, maybe to bring those arms down a little bit and be a bit more variety in his work. You see, that's good work there. He started off with the jab, but then 3 or 4 shots downstairs. Really gives Jamie Quinn something to think about, and there's no reply, so it's good work.
Many a man has tried to find a way through that. Such a tight defence of Jamie Quinn, and many a good man. Although they've come out as winners on points, not too many have got in on him and really found a way to make their power and supposedly superior skill tell. More good body shots. Another pretty one-sided round. Suddenly 3 out of 3 to Jordan Flynn.
Put the weight down, don't come forward. Yeah? Right, sweet. Go like the jabs.
I didn't try to hurt him, it's always ended. Wait too long.
Take your time, wait up, they're smart, these kids, they'll wait for it and a bomb shot.
Yeah.
3 shot, put the double jab up to the head, put the wire straight to the body.
Catch him with the head.
Just go top, snap.
Yeah.
Far, snap, the body. Don't whip them all around the sides, put them in straight sometimes. Keep thinking defensive in there, because you don't know when he's going to come back and saying, they'll hold around, they'll wait, they'll sway, and then they'll bomb one in. So keep thinking all the time. Yeah?
Corners, 10 seconds.
As a young fighter with not a huge amount of experience, Rich, it's not just getting in there and having the contest, it's everything that goes with it, the preparations and actually getting yourself right, making the weight, etc, etc.
Yeah. Going through a fight camp, exactly. You know, he will have prepared for this with his trainer, Kevin Mitchell, working, running on the roads, in the gym, sparring, pad work, everything. He's gone through a camp, making the weight. And it's a great experience for him, and he's in against someone who's going to should give him the 6 rounds. So yeah, it's a great exercise for him, for any young pro.
You heard Kevin Mitchell between rounds telling him to work behind the jab and then throw those body shots. Tough, of course, sometimes tough to look good, who's against a man whose principal aim is to not get himself hurt, just to survive.
Survive, yeah, and he's a good survivor, you know, this kid is. Quinn. So yeah, and the other thing is, John, you can't get too complacent in situations, in fights like this. This is all, it's going one way, isn't it? Flynn's the aggressor, he's winning the contest, but, you know, Jamie Quinn is one of those fighters where you can't switch off. He'll catch you on the inside if you drop your hands. So up to now, it's not only a physical test, but it's a mental test as well. You've got to hold that concentration. Look, a couple of shots come there back from Quinn. But this is good stuff from Jordan Flynn. He's boxing well.
Good response instantaneously there, wasn't it? Having taken a couple of body shots himself, came back with a little bit more, maybe even with interest.
And that's why Kevin Mitchell was saying, work behind your jab, double your jab up, then bring your right hand into play. Everything behind that jab.
Solid body shot, decent left hook from Jordan Flynn. You ever have in your career people whose principal ambition was to survive, and you're sort of unloading on him and going through your best moves, or that's the way you're likely to look at it, and all he does is smile back at you?
Yeah, he's a tough kid, Quinn. So it's one-way traffic from Jordan Quinn. Good work there to the body. Just set up though behind that jab. Just walking his man down, but Quinn, look, holding that guard nice and high. They'll be pretty pleased with him in there, in that corner.
Quinn, another payday for the man from Stockport when you fight as often as he does. Just imagine training can almost go by the board. He's in there so often, every couple of weeks.
Yep.
Sometimes more.
10 seconds. Round 5.
Just 2 rounds to go now. Everything going the way of Jordan Flynn, so far as points are concerned anyway.
He certainly doesn't need to do a lot of sparring, John, if he's in the ring every couple of weeks. He uses these fights probably as training sessions. You know, he protects the ribs, he protects, obviously, hands nice and high, so he protects his head, but you know, he's difficult to actually pierce that guard, body and head. That's why he's only been stopped 3 times. He's you know, not only that, he's a tough kid anyway, is Jamie Quinn.
There's another quality left hook in there from Flynn.
Yeah, seems to put a lot of power into each shot, doesn't he? Jordan Flynn. Can't neglect his jab though, still got to work with that. That's what Kevin Mitchell will be saying to him. Set the attacks up behind that punch.
Ducking below waist height, and referee stopping the boxing. What's your overall first impressions then as we move towards the end of this penultimate round? If you were training Jordan Flynn, would you be pleased with the way he's acquitted himself tonight?
Yeah, I think he was getting too close in the first round, and he certainly has adjusted. He's listened to his coach. It's not a bad performance up to now.
It was a decent right hand.
You know, he's boxing pretty well. He switches the attack very well downstairs. Just can't afford to get complacent, as I say. But now he's done everything right up to now.
Quinn knew he'd been clipped by that right hand, and you saw him stick his tongue out as much as to say, is that all you've got? But he found a way through.
He's certainly up the tempo now, John, in this round.
Jack senses that he's just started to find a way through a bit more. Maybe those body shots are just starting to drag the guard of Quinn down. Another emphatic round to Jordan Flynn.
Yeah. I thought that one landed.
Put your arms down, mate.
Last round coming up, son.
Yeah, one-way traffic in this round for Flynn.
That's that right hand.
Yeah, walking forward. And just whips it around the left hand of Quinn. It was a good shot.
Yeah, I was a good shot. We should have gone round the side of the front. Put some for the centre. The centre, yeah? None down the centre. Keep doubling his jab up. Don't get slack in the top hand.
It's nice, bro.
What?
It's nice, 6 rounds.
Yeah, when you're on the wall.
It's better than 4. It's better than 4.
Hey, don't look for that right hand high too early. Throw it to the body first and set it up first.
Set up there.
Right?
Yeah, don't
Because it don't work.
Corners, 10 seconds. Seconds out, 6th and last round.
So final round. Looking as though it's going to be a shutout victory for Jordan Flynn. Only question now is whether he can actually follow on what he's saying, what he's been hearing in his corner, work the body and create those opportunities perhaps for that right hand to provide something special in this last round.
It's a step up as well, isn't it, John? From the first fight he had, he boxed over 4 rounds, so they're confident in his fitness. Kevin Mitchell, you know, he'll see him in the gym every day, and he must have said to him, look, you're ready for 6 rounds straight away, we want to step it up to 6 rounds. So yeah, it's showing confidence throughout the camp actually, and yeah, I can see why, because he's put a lot of work into this fight. So his fitness is good, but he would just love to finish it off now with a stoppage, because not many people stop this fella, so that would really put the icing on the cake.
He's on these flat-footed now. Flynn trying to get inside and trying to land power shots. Looking for some real crunching body shots in this last round. There's 2 good ones, right and the left. Quinn again tying him up and just eating up a few more seconds as we move towards the final minute of this first 6-rounder for Jordan Flynn.
Yeah, Quinn knows all the tricks, doesn't he? Jordan Flynn, you know, he made the attack and just falls in like he did then. He just falls in, and Jamie Quinn just holds him, just leans on him, just wastes a few more seconds. He's a pro that really knows the game and knows how to just waste a little bit of time here and there.
Right hand from Flynn was a little bit low there, and Quinn just held on and again just dragged into him to slow, indeed stop the action. All part of a learning curve for Jordan Flynn. Who knows how far he'll go in fights, months and years to come.
No, it's been a good test for him, John, this has. In only his 2nd contest. I like what I see. I think Kevin Mitchell's got a lot to work with here. Talented lad.
Quinn
Yeah,
just covering up and holding on as the seconds tick down to the final bell. Sporting embrace. And Flynn, I'm sure, is going to be confirmed as a 6 rounds out of 6 victor.
yes, he will be, most certainly. But I thought he boxed pretty well there. Listen to his corner, good display. Showed great variety, head and body. He's picked up a little nick, hasn't he? It's only a little graze below his right eye. But yeah, I'd be pretty pleased with his work in that corner. I think he's boxed well tonight.
Not sure if that was a punch or a clash of heads which has caused that little bit of damage under the right eye. You can see he's a bit annoyed about that. Take a week or 2 just for that to tidy up. But judging the performance Well, he's won everything, hasn't he? Every stage. Clipped in that opening round, but not too much to worry about thereafter. So the referee scoring this fight, Bob Williams. And that has now been passed on to our Master of Ceremonies, Thomas Schreiber. And I think the two fighters now will be drawn together centre ring, because Thomas is poised now to give us the result.
Ladies and gentlemen, after 6 rounds of boxing, our referee in charge, Bob Williams, scores this contest 60-54 for your winner, and still undefeated, Jordan Flynn.
So 6 rounds out of 6 for Jordan Flynn, given a test tonight by the great survivor Jamie Quinn, but winning it very emphatically.